Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today we're diving into a topic. Now, I gotta say, it's a weird one. The Dashka Stone. You sent us some articles about it, and wow, just wow.
It's definitely one of those things that catches your attention for sure.
Okay, so we're talking about this like giant stone slab, right, dug up in the Ural Mountains in Russia. And some people, they think it's ancient, like crazy ancient.
It's a bold claim, you could say that again. We're talking 120 million years old. Older than the dinosaurs, if you can wrap your head around that.
Okay, so older than the dinosaurs. And get this, they think it's a 3D map. A map.
That's the idea floating around, yeah. And not just any map. Supposedly it shows the Ural region from all those millions of years ago. Rivers, dams, you name it.
Rivers, dams, and wait for it, maybe even airfields.
Yeah, some folks are going there. It's a lot to take in.
It's insane. So let's back up a bit for a sec. What is this Dashka Stone really? How'd they even find it?
Okay, picture 1999, Ural Mountains. This professor, Alexander Chevarov, he's from Bashkir State University. He's out doing his thing near this village, Shandar, when bam, he stumbles across this massive stone.
Hold up, how massive are we talking here?
We're talking seriously huge. Over 3 feet wide, 5 feet tall, and get this, a ton in weight? No, you're not just going to trip over this thing on your afternoon stroll.
No kidding. You'd need some serious equipment to move that. How'd they even get it out of there back then in 99?
Good question, and that just adds to the whole mystery of it. And here's the other thing. It's not your run-of-the-mill rock either. We're talking 3 layers here. Dolomite-based cement, a layer of this silicon-enriched diopside glass, and on top of all that, calcium porcelain. Like, what?
That's a whole lot of different stuff going on in one rock. Not exactly your average pebble rock.
Not at all. It's definitely not something you find just lying around. This unusual composition, for some researchers, it screams artificial construction. And then there are those super detailed markings carved into it.
So they see this mix of weird materials and these carvings, and boom, they're saying 3D map. Okay, break it down for me. I'm no geologist. What does 3D map even mean?
You know those topographical maps, right? The ones hikers use with the lines showing the hills and valleys. That's a 3D relief map. Now imagine that, but instead of paper, it's this giant stone, and it supposedly shows what the Ural Mountains looked like millions of years ago.
So like a snapshot of the past etched into this stone. Whoa.
That's the theory. They're saying it shows this huge system of rivers and canals spanning thousands of miles. And some even think they see dams and, yeah, those possible airfields.
Airfields? I mean, come on. That's where I have to draw the line. But hold on a second. How did they even come up with this 120 million years old idea?
Here's where it gets even wilder. The stone itself is old, don't get me wrong. But that 120 million year figure, it comes from 2 fossilized seashells stuck in the stone.
Wait, so they're dating the map based on the seashells?
Basically, yeah. One shell, it's a Navicupsinum unitus. Those can be, get this, 500 million years old. The other one, an Ichthyophilus princeps. Those clock in around 120 million years old. They're saying, look, if these ancient shells are part of the stone has to be at least as old as the youngest shell, right?
I don't know about that logic. Couldn't the stone have formed around those shells later on?
That's what a lot of people are saying. And it gets to a big problem with this whole thing. Dating rocks is hard. It's not like carbon dating for living stuff. There's no easy answer.
So you're saying we don't really know how old this Dashka Stone really is?
Pretty much. Some people, even the ones who think it could be a map, they say it might have been carved much later, maybe around 3,000 years ago, which is still crazy old, but nowhere near dinosaur times.
Talk about a difference of opinion. So we got this crazy old stone with even older shells in it, maybe. But the map part, who knows? It could be way younger. Makes you wonder, were those markings made by someone who knew about the older civilization? Or is this just some cosmic coincidence?
$1 million question right there. And that leads us to the next mystery. What other evidence is there to back up this whole ancient map idea besides how old the stone might be?
Lay it on me. What's got these people so convinced? Well, you gotta admit, the carvings themselves are pretty wild. We're not talking about some doodles in the dirt here, right?
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
The people who are team ancient map, they point to the sheer scale of it all as evidence. Like, check out this supposed network of canals, right? They say it stretches over 7,000 miles. That's like walking from New York to, I don't know, Australia.
Okay, I'm no expert, but that's a whole lot of digging for a civilization that supposedly didn't even have the wheel yet, let alone any backhoes or anything. How do they explain that one away?
So their argument is that whoever built these canals, they were way ahead of the game. Like, we're talking advanced engineering, total masters of water and stuff, way beyond what we thought was possible back then.
There's not just digging ditches in the dirt with sticks, huh? Exactly. They're saying this points to a whole different level of, like, know-how. And get this, It's not just canals. This map, if that's what it is, it shows these dams, too. Massive things. Some over half a mile wide.
Dams. Now, that takes some serious brains. You need physics. You need to understand how water works. That's next level stuff.
Right. It's mind-blowing if you think about it. And don't forget those weird, like, diamond shapes. Some people, and this is where it gets really out there, they think those might be airfields.
Oh, the airfields. That one's got me stumped. Try to keep an open mind here. But airfields, really?
Yeah, even for the folks who buy into this whole map theory, the airfields are a tough sell. I mean, 120 million years ago, that's a hard pill to swallow.
It's not just hard to swallow. It goes against everything we think we know. If there was some civilization flying around back then, wouldn't we have found, like, something else? Some other trace of them?
Right. That's the big question. Some of these theorists, they'll say that, well, the Earth is old and things change, right? Volcanoes, earthquakes, whatever. Maybe the evidence, it's just gone. Lost to time.
So basically, just because we haven't found anything doesn't mean it wasn't there. Is that their argument?
Kinda, yeah. They'd say this Dashka Stone, if it really is this ancient aerial map, well, then that's the evidence, right?
I don't know. It feels a little like they're saying the map proves itself, doesn't it?
It's one of those chicken or the egg things, for sure. It's also going to be said that a lot of these theories, they tie into ideas about aliens and ancient astronauts and all that, like Eric von Däniken, that whole thing.
Oh, yeah, the ancient aliens guys. They're saying, what, that E.T. swung by millions of years ago and gave these folks the blueprints for flight.
That's the gist, yeah. And while I'm all for a good mystery, we got to acknowledge that most scientists, they're not buying it. There's no real proof for any of that.
Right. It's fun to think about, but at the end of the day, you got to have evidence.
100%.
Yeah.
Which brings us to another head scratcher. Those symbols carved into the stone.
Oh, yeah, those. I almost forgot about those. What's the deal with those markings? Some kind of ancient language or something.
That's what they thought at first, yeah. They thought maybe, just maybe, it was some early form of Chinese.
No way. Chinese. So there could be a connection to China all those years ago.
Wouldn't that be something? Sadly, it wasn't meant to be. Turns out those symbols, they don't match up with any known language. Not Chinese, not anything. To this day, nobody knows what they say.
Hold on. So we've got this crazy old stone, possibly a map, and it's covered in a language that nobody understands. This is like something out of Indiana Jones. Seriously.
Yeah. Tell me about it. It's a mystery wrapped in an enigma, for sure.
So what now? Have they tried to decode these sepals? Any ideas about what they could mean?
Well, it's tough. Without a key, like a Rosetta Stone or something, it's almost impossible to crack. Some folks think it could be a language so old it predates anything we know about, like way, way back there. Others, they think it might not be a language at all, but more like, I don't know, symbols, like a different way of communicating ideas.
Okay, so we've got this stone, maybe millions of years old, possibly a map, covered in mystery symbols. It's almost too much. But where do we go from here? I have more questions now than when we started.
And that's the thing with the Dashka Stone, isn't it? It's like looking back into this super hoggy past, trying to put together a puzzle where half the pieces are missing.
More like trying to solve a riddle where someone lost the answer key.
Exactly. But that doesn't mean we can't look at what we do have, right? And see if we can at least make some educated guesses.
So where do you stand on all this, expert speaker? After looking at all this research, all these theories, what's your gut say? Ancient map or no?
You know, it's tough. This Dashka Stone is fascinating, don't get me wrong. But 120 million years old, that's a big claim. And honestly, I'm not quite there yet.
Really? So you're leaning towards like skeptical. What makes you hesitate?
It's like this, right? You make a big claim, you need big proof. And I just don't see that here yet.
So what would convince you? Like what kind of proof are we talking?
Well, for starters, they got to really nail down those dates. Independent testing, different methods, the whole shebang. I want to know for sure how old that stone is, how old those shells are.
Okay, so more research.
Exactly. And you know what else would be huge? A closer look at those markings. Maybe with, like, 3D scanning or something. Get in there, see if there are patterns we can't see with the naked eye. And of course, if we could just crack that code, those symbols, that would change everything, wouldn't it?
So it all comes down to tech, huh? Like, maybe we just don't have the tools to figure this out yet.
Could be. But even if we never get that aha moment, that doesn't mean the Dashka Stone isn't still super cool, right? It's a good reminder that we don't know everything. The Earth still has secrets. And who knows, maybe our ideas about the past, they're totally wrong.
I like that. It's not about being right or wrong, but about the mystery, the wondering.
Exactly. The Dashka Stone, maybe it's a map, maybe it's not, but it makes you think, right? What if there were civilizations way back when, long before we came along? What if they knew stuff we don't even dream of?
Makes you feel kind of small, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, we think we're so advanced, but what if we're just the new kids on the block?
Exactly. It's humbling, isn't it? The Dashka Stone, it might not be the answer to every question, but it's a good reminder that there's still so much out there we don't know.
Well said. So next time you're out hiking, you trip over a weird rock, take a second look. Who knows, right? Message from the past, a quirk of nature, maybe even the next big mystery. It's out there, waiting to be discovered.
You got that right. There's always something.
That's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the Dashka Stone. Thanks for coming along on this wild ride, folks. Make sure to check out the show notes for all the juicy details. And until next time, keep those minds open and those curiosity gears turning.